It's like he it looks like he's teaching to himself, mirroring, right? So guys, do come on camera. Let's start something with excitement. I know it's 9 o'clock, but I know no one sleeps so early, right? I know we all sleep late, and so there's no point. So it's like it's for this generation, sleeping is always late. So yeah, I hope everyone's awake. And yes, so let me introduce to your sir, guys. His name is Ankur. It's been like in photography, it's been 7 years. He's into this since 7 years. He's been through the journey as commercial photographer with forte in fashion, lifestyle, and architecture. All right, and also he has worked with several big brands, including Make My Trip, Oyo, Marvella Cosmetics. It's all about home, venture, etc. Right? So, guys, you guys are so lucky to witness such a person today. Guys, grasp as much as possible in this session. And if you have any doubts, do put up in a chat box. And please, guys, keep your mics on mute. Right? If any questions, do put up in a chat box. We'll try our best to answer all the questions. Okay? Yes. Yes, sir. What do you? I think you can proceed.
Sure. So thank you, Clive, for the introduction. So I didn't have to do that bit. Anyways, guys, so whenever we talk about fashion photography, first of all, I want to know if everyone is okay with the English, or do they want me to be going back and forth in both the languages? Because like in one of my classes, the people were actually having some issues with either of the languages, so both works. Okay. So guys, if you have any issues like understanding me, if you have some issue with my voice or anything like of that sort, just make sure to drop a message in the chat box. I will be looking there as well to make sure. If there is anything, you can speak up and let me know, and I will make sure that you understand that bit. So before talking about fashion photography, apart from the people who are here from a photography background or who have studied photography in their academics or during their college as a part of their course, photography in India is generally categorized as a two thing. It's either categorized as someone we call a wedding photographer, or as means as a pool photographer, and the other one is what we call a passport size photographer. So there have been a stereotype, there have been a misconception, there have been a misunderstanding, to be very honest, that in India, the wedding photographer, apart from wedding photographer, photography is not a business, photography is not a fashion, photography is not an industry. But that's not a truth. That's not any kind of a truth. When we talk about photography, when we talk about media, and when we talk about media, we talk about India. And India, as you all might know, like India is the third biggest media industry of the world after China and US. From Bollywood to the news channel to the fashion to the everything around that, it is covered by media. And even video is basically photography. Whenever we talk about photography is not that apart from that. Video is just several photos in a sequence clicked together and going in speed that we see, and it is a video. So first of all, photography is not new. Photography is not. Maybe we came across television back in early 90s. Maybe we came into as a photographer in early 2000 with the mobile cameras or the film cameras or digital cameras. But photography as a thing, photography as a profession, photography as an invention is almost 100 years old. The camera was invented back in 1880s. The first photo was captured back in 1880s. By the time we were in 1930s, we already have working cameras which was affordable enough, which were compact enough that everyone could use them. And by the 1940s, by 1950s, we already had broadcasting stations. We already had newspapers. We already had profession, and we already have photojournalists and professional photographers. If anyone has seen the older ads, maybe from Lux or maybe from Bata or anything, those black and white kind of newspaper advertisements, those photos was clicked by someone. And those paper exist since early 1950s. Even I have seen, being from mass communication and good to know Prasanna. So when I was studying mass communication or when I was studying fashion communication in college, so at that time, what we read was like the newspaper printed photos and someone needed to click those photos. We have already seen photos of Jawaharlal Nehru, we have seen photos of Gandhi, and we have seen photos of all the people before 1947. Clive, can you
Yes,
share?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So whenever we talk about photography, it's an old profession. It's one of what we can call photography is an art. Photography is a visual art. Maybe we don't do it with we can't say that we don't do it with our hands. Certainly, we don't paint or do stuff like whenever we talk about a fine arts or fine artist, or we don't do it on paper. We don't do it with the paint colors and brushes and everything. But photography is a visual art that we click a photo from our camera of something that we see, that we experience, and it is always plastered over the forever in our minds, in our cameras, maybe on paper, printed, everything. So photography is a visual art form that goes beyond just the wedding photography or just beyond the Instagram or social media thing. So whenever we talk about photography, there are several genres. If we talk about just the top of the line categories or top of the line genres, we can know about fashion, we know about architecture, we know about landscape, we know about lifestyle, we know about wedding, we know about astrophotography, we know about the real estate photography, and so on and so forth. Fashion photography is one of the biggest industries around the world. Maybe the wedding industry is the biggest in India, but if we talk about internationally, it is $1 trillion industry which exists to support another $1 trillion industry, which is fashion. So for any brand to exist in 2022, if there is a brand on paper in the world anywhere, be it India, be it US, be it London, be it Brazil, or anywhere in the world, and it needs to exist as a fashion brand, as a brand, lifestyle brand, even just as a brand, it needs photography. Marketing and branding starts from photography. Once you are in the market, and if you need that people know you, that people comes to know about you, people converts into client, you need photography. So whenever someone asks you why you do photography, or what photography is, or what profession is a photography, just ask them one thing. The shirt they're wearing, they might have seen it somewhere, and that somewhere was maybe a photo or a video, and that was clicked by some photographer. So everything that sells in the market is clicked by a photographer. To create a market, to create a brand, to make a brand, you need a photographer. So this class or this session is exclusively for fashion photography. So we will be talking about fashion photography. I will be taking the question answers once we are at the half of the class mark around 9:30. So you get an idea. So and at the end of the session, I will be asking, the floor will be open for all the question answers that you have, as well as for the future classes and everything that Clive will be explaining you all. So I have a PPT that I like to share here. Just give me a second, I will open it. So we can start talking with how fashion photography exists and how it is different from anything that you might have heard or confused it with. Can you guys see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So when we talk about fashion photography, the first thing that comes to our mind is the magazine, or maybe a YouTube video, maybe Instagram, or maybe social media, maybe just the advertisement by a brand. Fashion magazines have been in circulation since 1940s, 1950s. And Vogue is one of the biggest fashion magazine in the world. Vogue obviously comes under their publication house, which is known as Condé Nast, which also owns a GQ, Architectural Digest, and other several magazines around the globe. There also you have Harper's Bazaar, you have Cosmopolitan, you have Elle, you have all the other magazines, including some Indian magazines as well. We used to have several other magazines in from India which used to be published. Now most of them has been closed or became digitalized, but still there are several Indian fashion magazines which are in circulations, which still works at the same pace as they did before. So let's talk about Vogue India. So these are the two cover pages by one of the biggest name in fashion photography or in photography industry as a whole, Mario Testino. Mario Testino is a Spanish photographer who have been credited as the one of the most influential name in this world. He is responsible for some of the biggest fashion photos you see around the world. He's one of the names which is, we can say that he's like Amitabh Bachchan or Leonardo DiCaprio of fashion photography. He is just that kind of a pedestal that is so iconic that is every and any photo becomes something big. So these are two of the cover pages. This on my right side, it is from Vogue International, and from the left side, it is Vogue India. Back in 2017, Vogue completed its 10 years in Indian industry. So Vogue India had a special collector's edition that was clicked by Mario Testino. He came all the way to India. He did a shoot in Rajasthan alongside several models as well as actors. One of the names was Kendall Jenner, which is on the cover page. She's one of the biggest supermodel in the world. She clicked photos alongside Vicky Kaushal, Ayushmann Khurrana, and Rajkumar Rao, along with other actors and actresses from India. And it was a big thing for Vogue to complete 10 years in India, especially a country which is not as fashion forward or fashion focused as compared to Western countries. So what goes behind this or creating this photo is fashion photography. So if we see these two photos, this is essentially what a fashion photographer does every day in and out. This is what is fashion photography in essence. This is a fashion photography's bread and butter. There are two types of photos. Either there is your editorial style outdoor photo and there is your indoor photo. For an outdoor photo, usually it is both of them are by clients, maybe by a brand, by a fashion industry or fashion stylist, fashion model, or it could be anything. But what it showcases and what makes fashion photography different from a portrait photography, it makes it different from something you click for Instagram, what makes it different from lifestyle photography is that in these photos, your focus is not the face, the focus is not the model, but the outfit she or he is wearing. In this photo or in this photo, our main focus is not the model, even though they are celebrities, they're actresses, they're a pretty big name as an individual. Rihanna is one of the biggest name in the music industry as well as in the fashion industry. And Dior is another big fashion brand. But these photos doesn't capture Rihanna. This photo captures that bag that she's carrying. It captures the outfit that she's carrying. It captures the headgear she's carrying. Rihanna for us, for this brand, for this photo is secondary. And that is what differentiates a fashion photographer from any other photographer. Our main focus is always the product that our client have paid us to do, not the model wearing it. That model could be anyone or anything. It could be from a super big celebrity or it could be just a mannequin. But our focus will stay and only stay on the product. So if we talk about the outdoor photography is something which is pre-planned, which is executed with the help of stylists, with the help of makeup artists, art directors, and all the different team members, which includes that into the work. We plan it, we decide what to do, how to do, what will be the location, what will be the mood, what will be the theme, what will be the aesthetic, what will be the style of colors, what will be the product. Everything is planned and pre-planned. Whenever you go into fashion photography, remember one thing. This is not that you pick up your camera from your bag, you go outside, you click your photo and you call it a fashion photography. No. Fashion photography doesn't even start with camera. Fashion photography starts on paper. You write down what will be your plan. For example, let's take this photo. Our plan is to promote the new handbag from Dior. So our brand is Dior, our client or brand is a Dior. Our product is the bag, and our story or the aesthetic or theme they are going is the Secret Garden will sell, which is some, and the mood or aesthetic is something of a darker mood with a colorful lighting with something. Hmm, who is this page? Just give me a second, guys. So our aesthetic or our mood, which in turns is that we need a darker photo to give that sensual, that bold look to the brand, to the photo shoot, to the concept, while focusing on the brand. So that will be our concept, that will be our mood, that will be our aesthetic. Next things comes is what will be our location. So to find a location, we go with the mood and the aesthetic. We find a location. We do something what is called Reiki. We go and find the location. We finalize that location. We get it finalized by the artist, by the client, by the director, by the stylist, and then we select the model according to the brand. The first thing first, model cannot be anyone because just because she or he has a name. Model has to suit the brand. If you have a brand which doesn't even comes anything around that particular person or what that person persona is, it won't be of use. Say for example, you have a advertisement for Durex. Obviously, you won't like have model as Amitabh Bachchan or Sachin Tendulkar or MS Dhoni in that ad, and you will have someone young, you will have someone who can promote that kind of thought. That's why they have their brand ambassador is Ranveer Singh. On the other hand, you have something like Cycle Agarbatti. Imagine Hardik Pandya or KL Rahul in the Mandir doing an advertisement for Cycle Agarbatti. That won't make any sense. That's why you have someone who is much more mature, who is much more around that kind of a concept. There is a reason that we always see a Loknath in more of a Babuji's role and we're seeing in more of a dashing young boy kind of a role. So every model's biggest thing is not their face. Model's biggest thing is how they showcase. And whenever it comes to celebrity, we have to go with their theme. We have to go with their market. What target audience they capture? What is their persona? Who are they? So if I am signing Virat Kohli, I will be signing Virat Kohli because he has a youth after him. If I will be signing MS Dhoni, I will sign him because he has the India after him. So that goes same with the brand. And if we have a model, if we have a say our shoot is to promote the new lingerie line from Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret very strict about their models. They never ever go with any chubbier model. They never go with something of any different shapes or size or colors or anything. They're very strict with their thing. What other brands did was what they were strict with. They used everything which Victoria's Secret doesn't. So you have to understand that model conveys your brand's philosophy. Victoria's Secret conveys a philosophy that perfection is needed for a woman, while maybe the jockey just give his philosophy that is be yourself. If we talk about Calvin Klein, the concept my Calvin Klein means that be comfortable in what you are. So to focus on that, we need to make sure that our model, our brand, our advertisement give that philosophy that our brand wants to promote. So next things, once everything is done, then we select a makeup artist. We explain her or him or the team what we need. For example, like in this kind of, we need of dark, bold colors. We need that night kind of a look with the bluish and the reds and all those tones. We explain them. Then the stylist jobs comes in on this location to make sure that the outfit looks on par, everything looks on par, and then we click capture the photo. We get the text done, we get the editing done. Once we are done with editing, we finalize the photo, it is printing, and that's when a fashion photographer's work ends. So it starts from planning and it's end when it is in the market, all done, printed for you. So on the right side, same, everything goes on. Apart from the different factories, we don't have a location to go to. We don't have location tracking. We are just in a studio doing it as a photographer. We have a white background, maybe a black background. We have a model with the outfit, and we are doing. We can have props. We can have poses. We can have makeup. We can have different funky looks. But that all comes under the studio. So imagine like all that everything we did on the outdoor shoot minus the location. So our location is the studio. So you have to understand how to use that studio space as your location and how to use it to its maximum. Always remember there is no bad place. There is no bad location. It is just how an artist uses it. There are been photos which have been what a normal layman person would have called a garbage bin or just a corner of a side or a road, and some photographer made it into $1 million business. So nothing for a photographer, everything is gold and everything is a garbage. Just you have to make sure just you pick the right one. So difference between a fashion photographer and a portrait and lifestyle photographer is that our focus. What is our focus point? What is our target point? On the right side, we have what we call a portrait photography. On the left side is what we call a lifestyle photography. What we saw before was, even though they were so big names, they were models, as beautiful as they are. But the first focus or the first point that our eye went to was the outfit, not their faces. Here, our focus is going towards directly towards on the eye. So, like if we talk about lifestyle photography means we are showing a lifestyle. We are showing what is around them. We are showing something about the whole area. We are not talking about just the outfit. Outfit is just a prop there. Our main focus is on the model. Same goes for the portrait photography. The jewelry she is wearing, the chain she is wearing, the outfit she is wearing is a secondary. The makeup she is done is secondary. Our focus is the model. When the focus shifts from a person, from an object to a person, it goes from a fashion to lifestyle or portrait photography. So these are the two of the biggest names in the fashion world or fashion photography's world. On the left is the one I talked before, Mario Testino. On the right is Bill Cunningham. I already explained you about Mario Testino. Bill Cunningham was a British photographer. He was accredited as one of the best fashion street photographer and fashion show photographer. He died back in 2012 at the age of 98. He has a BBC documentary on him, and he was published in every single fashion media hub or platform or anything which his fashion he was published. He was accredited as one of the biggest names in fashion world at a time. And obviously, these two are the biggest names in India right now in the fashion industry, the Bhuratanani and Praveen Bhatt. Everyone knows this, might know the story of the Bhuratanani. Started back in 1990s in Bollywood with his own calendar inspired from Playboy and other international brands, and started his own. And now the Bhuratanani's calendar is a big thing in Bollywood. Praveen Bhatt, another upcoming commercial fashion photographer who has made a name for himself as one of the most popular names. So the biggest differences between the fashion photography and other kind of photography is our main focus is always the product. Fashion photography is completely commercial. It is a business. It's a marketing ploy that we use. So let's answer a few questions here. Then I will get into the different types of fashion photography and the career in them. So I'm doing fashion and product photography in Ahmedabad. Good to know. Can you give me tips for self-portraits? So whenever we talk about self-portraits, our main focus is on yourself, on your face. So for self-portraits, the best tip is to get the best light. Even with the worst camera, the best thing that you need is the light. Light changes everything. So make sure if you have a good light source, maybe a good external flashlight, maybe some, not the camera flashlight, external flash, maybe external flash, maybe a LED light or something like that in your house. If not, go in sunlight. You have a big source of natural sunlight that around the world. Go there and click photos in the natural sunlight. Try to make sure that you get your angles right. Practice your angles in front of mirror. Practice your angles in the cameras. Get comfortable with your camera. Make sure that you don't see camera as a camera, but just imagine there is nothing in front of you and just try to pose. And once you are comfortable enough, once you know your angles, once you feel when you feel that you have a good lighting and everything, the photos will improve eventually. How to get into this kind of modeling? So there are two ways to get into modeling. First way is to connect with an agency. They will explain you the whole process. They will get your portfolio done. They will train you. They will have a mentorship program. They will promote you, and they will send you to the different brands whenever you are needed. And once you are done, like you have enough experience from like 1 to 3 years, and your contacts are done with the stylists, with the creative directors, with the photographers, with the brands, eventually you will be on that part of being a model. How do you reach the pedestal of being a Dior or a big 10 or big 20 brands model? It is a long way down, because there is a backside that we in as an Indian, or we living in India, we are not the first choice for or first priority for them, because their main market is the Western market as compared to not the Southeast Asian market. So the Indian models are not necessarily their first choice, but doesn't mean that the modeling is not for Indians. There are several Indian brands like Sabyasachi, Manish Malhotra, Tarun Talani, Jay Jaglaya, and several other brands which are now coming to India just to promote Indian market, just to get into Indian market, like H&M, Zara, and all those brands. And they're regularly hiring Indian models. So once you are in the industry, once you are got that kind of wave in this world, you will understand how it works. The second way of getting into modeling is you are doing something which is already considered into media, which could be social media, which could be theater acting, which could be film acting or YouTube. If you're an actor, if you are a social media personality, if your face is what we call photogenic or money worthy, you can be a model. For example, say someone like uh, Bhuvan Bam. Bhuvan Bam is not a model, he's an actor, he's a entertainer, but he still comes into play when there are advertisement around him. Carrie Minati, Ajay Nagar. He's a YouTuber and entertainer, but still he works as a model for several brands. He has worked in the past with several brands. He's still a brand ambassador. Say someone like sports persons. Sports persons are not models, but they still work as model. But why? Because they have a face value. So either you have created a face value through social media. That Komal Pandey is one name that has created her own name. You have the boho queen, the Kritika Kurana. You have other people in the social media around the world who have created their name and then entered the world of modeling. So there could be everything on the other both sides. You can go directly into modeling, or you can create your own name and then go into modeling. It's all about pre-planning. Everything in photography, everything in art is always pre-planning. Even in the wedding photography, you pre-plan everything. You have an idea what you will be doing. In architecture photography, you have an idea what you will be doing. From selecting the right equipment for the shoot, from selecting the right subject, from the right colors, editing softwares, and everything. Everything is pre-planned. How to get into fashion modeling as a beginner? I just explained you that part. Best camera for photography and cinematography under 1 lakh. So for the best cameras, you can, like when we talk about camera is camera body plus lens. Most of the people go with the higher end body, but with the lower end or a kit lens, which is the worst thing you can do. Always remember those lenses like 1855, 18135. All those kit lenses are called kit lens because they come as a part of the camera, because they're not of the highest quality. They're not sharp enough. Even though some kit lenses are good enough for starting as a beginner, but in the long run, you will be needing some lenses. If you want to stick to the fashion and want to focus on the fashion arena under 1 lakh, so first, if you want to go with the traditional route of Canon, you have Canon RP. If you want to go with Sony, you have Sony A6400, A6100, A6600. And if you have no problem with going with the brand, which it might not be popular in India, but it is a very good brand, which is Fujifilm, you have X-T200. So why I suggest X-T200 is because it is one of the cheapest camera kit right now available in the market, which is very good for fashion photography. Same goes for Canon RP. What about Nikon D500 and 8500? D500 is essentially a wildlife and sports camera, not a fashion-oriented camera. So when we talk about the fashion industry or when we talk about fashion photography, we talk about the cameras which have higher megapixel count and higher resolution. Canon EOS RP has a 26 megapixel camera, which is one of the best under 1 lakh. The body comes around at 75,000. You can get an adapter along with it from Viltrox, which is around what 5,000 rupees in the market. Along, you can pair it with the 50 Canon and 85 Canon from the market. It will cost you around, if you like find a good used lens or something like that, it will be costing you around 1 lakh rupees, which will be good enough to start now. And eventually, once you grow and once you earn, you can upgrade to the other lenses. Another option is again Fujifilm. You can get a Fujifilm with the kit lens for around 56,000 rupees. Then you can get a 56 lens and a 75 lens from either you have option from Samyang, you have option from Viltrox, you have option from Sigma and from other brands as well. You can go with 2 or 3 lenses and then you can eventually upgrade as per your liking. Can you repeat the second name? From the camera, Sony A6400 and A66, but basically A6000 lineup. Is Behance is a good platform for showing your skill around the globe. Behance is basically widely adapted and universally accepted platform for portfolio showcase. Most of the people cannot afford the hassle of making a website. Neither can they afford having a website, which it actually costs around 10 to 15,000 a year. And there are very less chances that you will get noticed through your own personal website in this big world. Behance is one of the best options you can have to showcase your work around the globe and to connect to new people, to brands and everyone. Behance is also professionally accepted, which is very good thing. What is
Hi,
that?
sir.
Yes.
Sorry to disturb you. I just joined just 5 minutes ago. So, could you please just is it like may I know just about you little bit? So, so can we is it for the further classes? So, how many months will it take to if we want to start our career? So, could you please just give me brief about you so we can go the further? So so what we will cover in going forwards?
Actually, Ritu, you can listen. Once we complete the masterclass, the recordings will be there for 2 days. Okay, you can just go through it, and also about the upcoming advanced class, I'll be seeing you in the end. All right, you'll get to know.
Sorry.
About the upcoming sessions. You wanted to know about what are the content you'll be learning further, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, about that I'll be saying you soon. Once we have few more minutes. After that, I'll be talking about it. All right, you can be there. I'll be explaining everything.
Okay, 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 sure.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Clive. So which is better to have, indoor or outdoor? This is not something like which is better like iPhone or Samsung. Indoor and outdoor, you have to maintain a balance. It could be like which you are better at. It could be like you have much more upper hand or much more better skills with the indoor photography, or you can have on the outdoor. You have to learn both. You have to understand both. You have to practice both. You have to make and build a solid portfolio in both. But once you are understandable enough that you know that okay, I have my own studio, I can afford I can afford having a studio on my rental basis or on contact basis for every single shoot I will be doing, or I can charge my studio pricing in the client's budget, and I'm good enough with the lighting, I am good enough with the studio lights, with the strobe lights, I have good knowledge about how to control those and use the modifiers to shape the lighting around my model, then you can go with the indoor. But on the other hand, if you are someone starting out and you know that you cannot afford paying 6,000 rupees per day for a studio, 10,000 rupees per day of studio, or the client doesn't necessarily need a photo in studio, and you feel that you are much more better outdoor. Maybe you prefer sunlight, you prefer outdoor locations, you prefer going outdoor and showcasing the landscape around it, the model, then you can go with the outdoor photography. So it's a balance between both. I will explain once I am done with this Q&A, I will explaining the different type of categories, and in that I will be explaining the need and where both of them applies. So can you tell me about Viltrox lenses? Viltrox is basically a Chinese company which makes camera gear, camera accessories, camera lenses, camera adapters. You can Google about them. It is not C, it is X, Viltrox. You can Google it. It is basically a cheaper brand alternatives for several companies, especially Sony and other new cameras. And you can do. Sir, Canon EOS 200D Mark II with 50mm lens is my right choice for photography. Canon 200D and 50mm is the perfect choice for photography, especially for fashion photography. Going forward, you can either pick a 35mm or 85mm according to your need. Is Behance, they are also hiring us after showing our work. Yes. Whenever the client asks for portfolio, they always ask for the website or your Behance link. They never ask for what is your on Instagram. Now, first and last tip that any fashion photographer will give you for their portfolio creation is never ever give them your Instagram. Never ever tell that I'm the XYZ and my photography page is XYZ photography. Never ever tell them the client will run away at the speed of light. Either create a Behance account or either create your own website for the portfolio building. Whenever you do that, it will not only they will not only take you seriously, it will all be much more in a civil way, it will much more professional way, and they will trust you and your choices going further as in the collaboration with you. So now let's talk about the categories which comes under fashion photography. So fashion photography is not just the brand shoots with the camera for the marketing ploy. You have indoor and outdoor photography, as I explained. You also have fashion events and fashion photography, street photography. So let's go with the fashion events. The fashion events or fashion shows are basically ramp walks for the different brands, different designers. They do that to showcase their collection, and to get those collections and those photos out in the world through media, you need photographers. So there are two ways into getting into the fashion event. First way is going to fashion street photographer. You get to know that there will be a fashion show happening at this or that point. You have enough contact with the organizer, or you can find some contacts through online. You go there and you click photos of the audience or the guests that will be coming. Most of the people who are attending these fashion shows are also equally dressed up as the one who will be walking the ramp as models. So you can go there and you can click photos of them. Then you can sell those photos if say there's anyone who is a page 3 client or a page 3 style of celebrity or maybe some big name in the fashion industry. You can sell those photos to some independent media houses and they will pay you. Second option is you can contact the organizers and you can be a fashion photographer, fashion show photographer. You will place yourself at the ramp and you will click the photos of the model is walking on, and then you can sell those photos. Third option is contacting the organizers or the designers for the backstage passes. And you can contact them and ask them that you will covering them the backstage or behind the scenes of the fashion shows. You will be clicking models before they go on the ramp to showcase the stylist and the work. You can maybe collaborate with the stylist, you can collaborate with the maybe the makeup artist, and you can go through with that platform. Last kind of fashion photography, which is what we call it is kind of dead, but it doesn't mean it necessarily doesn't work right now. It is commercial photography. Commercial photography or fine art photography is something which you do in editorial base. You have makes a it is usually done once you are on a pedestal. You have 10 years experience, 15 experience. Your name is as like when we talk about editorial photography. Imagine like this: as a photographer, your name is equivalent to MF Hussein in the or Pablo Picasso in painting world. Your name sells. The photo sells not because of the photo, but because of your name. Some of the biggest name in the world is Steve McCurry. So once you're on that level, you can what you people usually do, and it is one of the most highest paying kind of a game. But essentially, the name thing is that your name is selling. Whatever you can do is you can plan a concept, you can make plan everything from shoot to models to stylists to everything. You can do a specialized shoot on a special theme with a special story. You sell that story to the world. Essentially, you sell that story as your paintings. You sell that at exhibitions, and there are people who will pay you millions for that photo print. It is basically like you are like as if like a painter. The first biggest thing is when you are making a painting and you are selling them. Just like that, as a photographer, you will be selling the prints of that shoot. That is what we call commercial fine art photography. So the how to get started in fashion photography, you can either start with the commercial work, commercial product photography, which is the bread and butter of fashion photography, which is you can go clicking photos on the white background for brands like Amazon, for brands like Myntra, Flipkart, and everything like that. This is the highest paying jobs. What you do is you find either two kind of places, either the brand itself, the designer, or the agency. So first of all, with the brand, you contact Amazon, Myntra, or someone like that. They're always hiring people on their behalf, and you will work with them to click white background photos and take for their websites. Second option is you will click the photos, or you will work with the brand to create those photos for Myntra or Amazon. That what we call as e-commerce photographs. Or you can work under an agency who does this work on the behalf of Amazon and the client, basically a middleman. Second option is you go as an independent freelance photographer. You cover events, you cover shows, you work with designers for outdoor work, for marketing or for branding. And third option is you work as an employee, as a fashion photographer for some fashion brand, and you work daily 9 to 5 job with them as a photographer until you get enough experience, until you get enough grasp that you can go into freelance venture. Now, how to do everything and every part of this and how to actually do the fashion photography bit, that is all the part of the classes. And it all takes hours and hours to explain. So that's why we have our classes lined up that like that. So if there are any questions regarding that, please free to ask. After that, Clive will explain all the things remaining about that. So I only see 3 questions. Any fashion agency in Ahmedabad? I have no idea about the fashion agencies in Ahmedabad. Just do one thing, go on Google and write modeling agencies or fashion agencies in the XYZ city, जो भी आपकी city है, in whatever city you live. Just Google fashion agency or modeling agency or scouting agency in XYZ city, and you will find enough options. Unless or until you are living in very like tier 2, tier 3 cities and very smaller cities, which doesn't necessarily convert to that, you might have harder chances. But for the tier 1 cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, Chandigarh, Lucknow, all of them, basically all of the capital cities will have those kind of a thing. So whatever the capital city of your state is, they will be having some agency and they will be having some contact, but you have to find a way to contact them. So what should be the camera accessories for outdoor photography, like lights and accessories, etc.? It depends upon what kind of photography or what kind of work you are doing. So like say, if I am going as a fashion photographer, I usually have 2 flashes and then I have a reflector. Then maybe I have a flag. Flag is basically some modifier to cut the lighting. And apart from that, I have few modifiers for my flashes and tripods and everything. Is there any class on lighting? Yes, there is a separate class, 1 hour class that is just for lighting. Fashion photography exists around lighting only. So I will be teaching everything. By the way, are you also a photographer? Good question. It's like asking Ram, are you also a part of Ramayana? But okay, yeah, I'm a photographer from last 10 years. Actually, I have done 2 degrees, which is around photography, which is one of the bachelor's in mass communication and bachelor's in fashion communication. And I was preparing for my master's from London in fashion photography and fashion media. Sir, can you preach about the earning of fashion photographer? Okay. This is a good question, but a hard question to answer because it varies from location to location and job to job. So I will just explain you from the example of what I have earned. So if we talk about, say, individual brand getting a photo shoot done for their Instagram project, so why anywhere from 5,000 to 25,000 rupees for per day. If we talk about Amazon kind of a Myntra kind of a thing, agencies have paid me 30 to 25,000 rupees per month as a salary, while for Amazon and Flipkart itself, they were paying me 60,000 rupees per day per month as a salary. And while for the brand, they were paying me 3 lakh rupees for 1 month contract with them for shooting around 700 to 800 outfits in 1 month. So yes, Amazon Myntra kind of a work means that you have to shoot at least 70 to 80 garments in a day. And that means forget about you're hungry, forget about anything from loot to your family to life. Even forget like you breathe. Just focus that you have to anyhow get that 70 photos clicked in a 70 garments into 210 photos clicked in a day, every day for next 10 days. There will be a whole brand, a whole team depending upon you. If we talk about fashion shows as a fashion show photographer, the media agencies and media outlets pays anywhere from 1,000 rupees to 5,000 rupees per photo, depending upon the size of fashion show. Like my fashion weeks in Bangalore and Mumbai pays usually more, and smaller fashion shows usually pay less. If we talk about the backstage and backstaging kind of a thing, it pays anywhere from 20 to 25,000 rupees for a day's work. If we talk about commercial photography, it usually pays around 20,000 to 70,000 for a job, for per month job as a commercial fashion photographer. And if we talk about commercial editorial photographer, I have not done it personally myself, but I have my mentors who are selling their final prints for upwards of 1.2 lakhs or 1.5 lakh rupees for single photo. And with this NFT and cryptocurrency thing, people are selling their photos as NFTs and people are actually paying them millions of dollars for their photos. You might have heard about that, we might have not. But I will also, in my career point, I will explain a bit about NFTs and cryptocurrency and how to sell your photo digitally also. And how to contact big companies like Amazon, Myntra, Zomato, and all those. LinkedIn. Every single brand have a LinkedIn profile. Every single brand profile have a team which is working. It will be either senior photographer or a creative director or a media personnel or an HR. Message them, send them yours profile. They will either connect you or they will either help you or they will either consider you. But they will do something. Just make sure you have a good cover letter along with your good portfolio with good message and send them. Find a brand, find their team, and just message them. One of them will actually message you, and once you're working with either one of the brand, other brands will come knocking to your door automatically. You won't have to go after them. Any other question?
Sir, I think I can proceed, right? Since
Yeah.
any question? Yes. So guys, if you have any questions, you can do one thing. You can just note down all the questions, and once I'm done with my thing, you can ask questions. All right. So yes.